Well, hi, everyone. I know some of you are celebrating the 4th of July today and our nation's independence, but I thought I would share with you why I'm not sure I can celebrate along with you. I respect you and I hope you respect me. But if you know me, you know that when it comes to controversial topics, I'm often quite guarded with respect to what I do speak on and what I don't speak on. I try to speak on issues that I know and hopefully know really well. And there are a number of reasons for this approach. Primarily, it's because I know that those who disagree with me, those who I'm trying to be a prophetic voice to, often have strong reasons for why they believe what they believe and why they do what they do, and that they're only likely to listen, let alone change, if they're approached with respect and good reasoning. In addition, I believe strongly in the gospel of Jesus Christ and his message of the kingdom. And I believe I know some things about that, and I want people to listen to what I have to say about those things. And I know that if I'm always popping off about some controversial matter, that many are just going to tune me out and write me off. Now, some of you might say, well, so be it, Rob. They're not going to listen anyways. And perhaps that's true. Perhaps they're going to slander my name and silence my voice and hinder my ability to impact others. But I know that perhaps if I popped off more, maybe I could reach even more people. After all, social media loves controversy and algorithms favor voices that pop off. But this is a game that I just don't want to play. I want to walk with my integrity in tow. So if I post a blog or a video of mine and it becomes viral because I popped off in an effort to gain attention or to play the algorithm game, then how am I better than anybody else? But sometimes I think we have to speak. Some of you might say, well, Rob, you know the Bible well and you're a good teacher of it. Stick to what you know. But I actually believe that what I'm about to say is doing just that. I know some of you are going to disagree with me, and I think that's fine. One of the great things about this country is that we have the freedom to disagree. As a Christian, we're to love one another, even those with whom we disagree. So if you want to celebrate today, by all means, go ahead. I simply want to set forth some reasons why I'm not going to be able to do so. The last thing I want to do in this video, by the way, is cause more dissension in our country and among its people. We have enough hatred and venom across the aisle already. But I went to bed last night, July 3rd, already considering how I might approach today. I have for a number of years become more sour on the acts of our country. Sure, I can be patriotic, but over the last week, by the way, that song that I knew was going to be played over and over and over again on July 4th, I'm proud to be an American. Okay, I won't sing it. You know the song. You know the song. The problem is that the more that I learn, the more I realize that I can't be proud to be an American. I've said many times in the past year that if anything makes America great, it's the freedom of speech. But this too has begun to disappear. The government is little by little taking away that right. You may not see it, but ask Mahmoud Khalil. And don't say he's not a US citizen, so his freedom of speech can be revoked. He's a legal resident of the United States. And the Constitution guarantees his right to freedom of speech, and it cannot be taken away unless he commits a crime. I wrote about this on March 14th, 2025 on my blog post on Patheos. The whole idea of make America great again raises the question, when was America actually ever great? This country was established on stolen land and on the backs of millions of slaves. Any country can become wealthy and powerful if they begin with free land and free labor. Anyways, I was saying I went to bed last night pondering what I was going to do this day when I noticed a string of text messages from some respected colleagues, one of whom is in the West Bank. She noted that things in the West Bank are beyond dire. In fact, she said, quote, horrible, beyond horrible. Those were her exact words. And my heart sank. I know many people in the West Bank, and their lives have been an unspeakable hell for many years now. And once the war in Gaza began, I knew that Prime Minister Netanyahu and his extremist friends, Ben Gvir, who's a member of the Israeli cabinet, is in charge of the settlements. This man's a convicted terrorist. Now, even some of the most conservative evangelical Zionist friends that I have, I'm in contact with, even they will say that Ben Gvir is a problem. But I knew that Netanyahu and his friends would intensify their efforts in the West Bank to terrorize the Palestinians because they knew that all eyes were on Gaza. Now, you might respond by saying, Rob, there's so much to be proud of to be an American, and perhaps that's true. But those things don't outweigh my concerns. And as I said, some of you are about to object to what I'm about to say. So let me preface my comments with this by saying, empires lie. They deceive. They control the information. And they do this so well that anyone who dissents is often silenced. So I ask you simply to listen carefully. You don't have to agree with everything that I say, but even if only some of the things I say here are correct, then I ask you, can you celebrate this Independence Day? Should I be proud as an American to be born on land that was stolen from indigenous people? Should I be proud to live on land now that belongs to Mexico? I know, we bought it. Enjoying the prosperity of being a white American male that was handed down to me on the backs of free land stolen from other people and on the backs of slaves, I'm not sure I can celebrate that. In 1852, Frederick Douglass gave a speech titled, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July?" I actually would encourage you to Google it and read it. He said in that speech, quote, "The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, but not by me. The sunlight that brought you light and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice. I must mourn." Should I be proud of the millions of people, the US citizens, good people, who are today living in fear that they're going to be detained and maybe even deported simply because of the color of their skin? It may be easy for me to celebrate the 4th of July, but I can't be proud of a country that makes a large portion of its people live in fear just because of the color of their skin. Should I be proud of the United States when they overthrow governments around the world? Iran 1953, Guatemala 1954, Congo 1961, Chile 1973, and we could go on for a long time. Ukraine 2014, all motivated largely by the interests of multinational corporations. Should I be proud of a country that lies to me and millions of Americans to support a war in Iraq that left an entire region in chaos and millions of people dead? Can I be proud of the United States' role in virtually every Latin American country, impoverishing millions of people, killing millions of people, torturing thousands of people, and imprisoning dissidents who objected to the US role in their country? Can I be proud of the fact that millions of good people are going to be detained in a camp surrounded by alligators? And then our president comes out yesterday and says, "I hate them. I hate all of them." Can I be proud of the United States' role in Gaza? You may have seen the video that smuggled out some American workers there, showed videos of IDF soldiers shooting people queuing up to get food in Gaza. One of them said, I think you got one." And another guy said, "Woohoo!" Should I be proud of a nation that's been at war for decades, wars that serve to enrich the military-industrial complex while killing millions in the process and impoverishing others? Why do we fight these wars? We have no threats to our land. We live separated on the East Coast by water and on the West Coast by water. There are oceans separating us from our enemies. Our north and our south borders are surrounded by countries that are at peace with us. The United States is the most powerful nation in the world. Why would we be at fear of nuclear war? I'll tell you why. It's because of the United States' actions around the world. The world hates us, not because they envy us, but because of what we've done in their countries to their people. And now we just passed a $1 trillion defense budget. A country that thinks killing people around the world is going to make us safe. Should I be proud of that country? Can I be proud of a country that houses 25% of all incarcerated people in the world, even though this country, ours, has only 5% of the world's population? Can I be proud of a country that has an overwhelmingly disproportionate number of people in prisons that are people of color? I can't be proud of our systemic racism that continues to unfairly treat many people, most of the people in our country, unfair housing practices that disadvantage people of color. What about the 500,000 people that are unhoused? Some of them are veterans of our country's wars. You see, I don't have a problem with our soldiers. I love our soldiers. I have a problem with our country that sends them to go fight needless wars that benefit the military-industrial complex and multinational corporations and not the people, whether the people in that country or the people in our country. And then those people come home from wars. Our soldiers come home from wars and they suffer with mental illness and they become homeless and we don't care for them? I can't be proud of a country like that. What about the people of Puerto Rico, Guam, and American Samoa who live under U.S. rule but they don't have a vote? A country that cares more about corporate greed than it does for land and its people. And I can go on and on for a long time. I happened to stumble upon a Charlie Kirk rally last year. He was responding to questions and challenges, and he was being very kind and very gracious in doing so. One of the people asked him the inevitable question. And the question was, Charlie, when was America ever great? And the whole idea of make America great again. When was it ever great? And he replied, 1978. I think that was a great year. But was it a great year? Was it a great year for the children who lost their fathers, or the wives who lost their husbands, or the parents who lost their sons and daughters? 60,000 of them fighting in a war in Vietnam that had no real purpose for the United States? Was it a great year for those in Vietnam, Cambodia, or other countries? Was it a great year for people of color in America still fighting for equal rights, for adequate housing, and for schools for their children, for jobs and fair wages? Was it a great year for Native American women dealing with US government programs of forced sterilization in the 1970s? Or the Native Americans living under extreme poverty in the reservations? Or women fighting for equal pay and equal rights in the workforce? Now, I would say that I'm proud to live in a country that allows me to say everything I just said. But I also wonder more and more today if there will be consequences for what I just said. Now, some of you might say, Rob, why don't you just live somewhere else? If you're not proud of America, well, why don't you go move to Russia or China or some other country? Are you saying those countries are better? Those who make those kind of responses are showing that they don't understand what I'm saying. The question is not, is the United States better or worse than China? The question is, should we be proud of this country in light of the things that this country does? Let me ask you a question. If you were living in China or Russia, would you celebrate that country's day of independence, knowing the things that it does? Now, some of you might say, well, sure, I'll respect the country that I live in. And that's fine, it's fair. But what if you were in Russia and you were a member of Alexei Navalny's family? Alexei Navalny, who was poisoned to death but survived because they flew him to Germany. And then he brought back to Russia and only to be jailed and sent off to Siberia where he died from exposure. Would you celebrate Russia's Day of Independence then? Could you even celebrate Great Britain's Day of Independence, where my ancestors, many of them came from? I don't know if they have a Day of Independence, but if you knew about their imperial past, would you celebrate their Day of Independence? No, you could be proud to be a Brit, to be an American, to be a Russian. And I don't deny that our country has done great things, but I can't allow the great things that our country has done to overshadow the things that I've already mentioned and many more things that I haven't even begun to mention. And I definitely don't deny the fact that there are a lot of great people in this country. If America is a great country, it's because of the people. Now, I'm open to your thoughts. I'm open to your critiques. Feel free to put them in the comments below. I only ask that you be civil. You're welcome to disagree. You're welcome to agree. But please don't hate. We have enough of that in our country already these days.